All right, welcome back, fifth graders. We are going to kind of switch gears again in math. We've spent a lot of time, a couple weeks for sure, if not a month, dealing with two-dimensional concepts, two-dimensional polygons, two-dimensional attributes, area, all those things that are dealing with two-dimensional shapes. And we're going to switch gears now, like we said, to three-dimensional shapes. So that's where, as you look at this page here right now, you are seeing a bunch of 3D shapes. And it is always difficult, guys, to talk about 3D shapes in a 2D format. And in all honesty, we're looking at a sheet of paper here, or you guys are looking at a computer screen, which is two-dimensional. So whenever you can see something tangible, and if we were in the classroom right now, I would have some manipulatives and we'd have some actual 3D shapes that we'd pass around so we can see that it has that third dimension. Okay? So today's lesson, guys, if you want to call it the learning target, is simply trying to identify, name, and then kind of classify three-dimensional shapes. Okay, so those kinds of concepts are what we're looking for here. And the theme of the day, or the thing I really want you to think about, is actually a Meghan Trainor song. Okay, if any of you know who Meghan Trainor is, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you do, she sings a song that's called All About the Bass. Okay, it's all about the base. And that's what we are dealing with here. It is all about identifying the base of these three-dimensional shapes, okay, naming it, and then determining whether we are dealing with a pyramid or a prism. Okay, fairly straightforward. Now, I think in our minds, guys, as we go forward here, oftentimes we think about the base as being something that an object sits on. Okay, it's always got to be the bottom, the base of something. But as we talked about with two-dimensional shapes, and we were talking about the area, especially of triangles, guys, sometimes that base that we are referring to, if the triangle is rotated in any way, can be a side. It could be one that's pointing up and down versus what it is technically considered the bottom of the triangle. So as we look at these shapes here, you can't automatically assume that these bases, or that the shapes we are looking at as the bases here, are the ones that are the bottom of the shape. Okay, I'll just leave it at that for right now. What we do need to identify here is all of these shapes are going to contain rectangles, every single one of them, but they can't all be rectangular prisms. I just want you to understand that. So as we look at shape number one here, okay, I can see a rectangle here, I can see a rectangle here, I can see a rectangle here. Those are not the bases, okay? If I've got more than two of something, it can't be a base. There will only ever be two bases, a top and a bottom. Okay, so if I stand it up on that base, the opposite side will be the same. All right, so in this case, for number 7, we are actually looking at the base being this shape, or this polygon that I'm outlining right now. Okay, because its opposite, even though we can't really see it, is the same. We can tell that it doesn't go to a point. All right, so what we are looking at here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 sides. So that base is an 8-sided polygon. And so when the question is asking name the shape at the base, or name the polygon at the base of this to name the prism, it means we are looking at an octagon. All right, write that down right there. We're looking at an octagon. And because that octagon doesn't go to a point on the opposite end, but it goes to another octagon, we are dealing with an octagonal prism. All right, kind of a long word, a lot to write there, but again, that's all we are looking at. We've identified the base. It's all about the base, just like Meghan Trainor said, and then once we do that, we throw the term prism behind it. Okay, very straightforward, very simplistic. And we'll talk about the opposite, or the other category, as we move forward here a little bit more into the video. So number 8, again, if I'm looking just at different shapes here, I can see I've got rectangles all over the place. But if I'm being honest with myself, to be a base, it has to have either 1 or 2 of the shape. Okay, I know I said 2 before, but if we're dealing with pyramids, it'd be 1 of the shape. So as we're looking at this, guys, this right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided figure on this side, which if I identify the other side, opposite of it, is also a 5-sided figure. Okay, those are the bases of that 3D shape, not the rectangles rotating around the outside. So if I were to stand this shape up, I would stand it up on a 5-sided figure or a pentagon. All right? And it would have two bases. Anything that has two bases is considered a prism. So in this case, it would be a pentagonal prism. All right? And the reason for that is, again, it has two bases. It has a top and a bottom. It doesn't go from a shape to the opposite side of a point, which if you look towards the bottom of this screen, you will see those things in the future. Now, I'm not going to do number 9 because it's very similar to what we've done already. I'm also not going to do number 10 because, again, kind of what we've done already. But what I am going to show you is number 11. Okay? And I think a lot of people, guys, mistake number 11, or they make the mistake and assume that that is, in some case, a pyramid because they see a triangle involved. Or they think it's a rectangular prism because it looks like it's sitting on the rectangle. But in all honesty, guys, okay, we have a triangle, yes. We also have a triangle opposite it. Okay, so we've got, in this case again, two bases. So this is, the base is a triangle. And the name of the 3D shape as a whole is a triangular prism. All right? And the reason I know that this is a triangular prism and not a pyramid is because it goes from a triangle to a triangle. The other reason I know that this is not a pyramid or that this isn't a rectangular prism is because this rectangle that it's currently sitting on, right here, doesn't go to a rectangle on the opposite side. It goes to what we call an edge. It goes to a flat, straight line. And to be the base, it would either have to go to another rectangle or it would have to go to a point to prove to it that it was a pyramid instead of a prism. Okay? So realize that even though we're looking at this shape and it looks like that is sitting on a rectangle, this triangle here is actually a base, and its opposite or its top would be another triangle, which makes that a triangular prism. I know it's kind of confusing, and hopefully the longer we get into this, guys, the more this will make sense. All right? So that's all the time I'm going to spend on our prisms. Remember that prisms have to have two bases, and they are named after whatever the base is. All about the base, okay? Triangular prisms, octagonal prisms, pentagonal. There are rectangular prisms. Number 12 is a rectangular prism, okay? It's sitting on a rectangle. Now that's actually an easy one to identify because all the shapes are rectangles, okay? So that makes it easier. Now, if we take a look at what makes something a pyramid, same basic premise. Find the base, identify the base, name the base. Okay, so as we look at this first one here, number 13, guys, we are looking at, to me, this shape right here is a three-sided figure, and that is the base. So again, we are identifying this as a triangle. Boy, I'm having a hard time spelling today. Base is a triangle, and we know that that is the base because it is opposite of not another triangle, but it is opposite of a point. All the vertices, all the corners of that base go to the opposite side, which doesn't go to another triangle but goes to a point. That now makes that a pyramid because all pyramids only have one base, and that is the major difference between prisms and pyramids. Two bases versus one. So this is a triangle for a base, or a triangular pyramid, not prism now. All right, so that is a triangular pyramid. Now if we look at the next one, again, shape is kind of tilted. You might think, well, gosh, is that some sort of a triangle or something? Because I see a triangle on the side here. That looks like it might be the bottom. But again, in a pyramid, or naming of a pyramid, we're going to see a point. That shape is going to come to a point, and to name it, we go to its opposite side. So in this case, we're looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided base. So if we look all the way up to the top of our screen again, I'll just scroll up here a little bit more so we can see it. We've got a 5-sided figure being a pentagon, and that becoming a pentagonal prism. Well, this is the pentagonal pyramid, okay, because it goes from a pentagonal pyramid. All right. So again, still the same idea, still the same song. It's all about the base. All right. But we need to identify the base that is opposite from a point. Base that is opposite from a point. If we look at problem number 15 here, okay, we're now looking again at the point being up here, and everybody sees all these triangles. Oh, it must be something triangular. Nope, this is just a good old-fashioned rectangle on the bottom, a 4-sided figure, opposite sides being equal. That is a rectangular prism, or excuse me, rectangular pyramid, because it comes to a point. All right? Okay, and then the last question here, guys. It may seem like, oh my gosh, how can they be this? How are pyramids and prisms alike? There's actually a number of ways that those two things are alike. Okay? A number of things. One of the reasons, or one of the ways that a pyramid and a prism are alike is they're both 3D shapes. They're both consistent of 3-dimensional shapes, 2-dimensional shapes coming together to create a 3-dimensional shape. So they're both 3D objects. Another way that they are alike is they have bases. Okay? One of them has 2 bases, a top and a bottom, and one just has 1 base, and then the opposite side being a point. But they both have bases. So those would be a couple of the reasons, or a couple of things you could put in there for how are pyramids and prisms alike. All right. How are they different? Obviously, the number of bases, how we're going to calculate the surface area at some point, the volume, those kinds of things. There are different characteristics, a lot more differences, but there are still quite a few similarities. All right, so guys, I'm trying something new with this video, so hopefully you've been answering the questions as you've been going along. I'm attempting to put this puzzle, or this question, into an ed puzzle, this video into an ed puzzle. So hopefully you have answered all the questions. There will be one more question at the end of this video, and hopefully it worked. If it did not, if I'm messing around with Edpuzzle and it didn't work, there will be an exit ticket that I will create at the end of this. But I'm hoping that all goes well and you will have answered all your exit ticket questions in watching this video. Thanks again, guys, and we'll be back tomorrow.